Hey, what's going on, guys? Bonfire Fishing here. And before I start, make sure you go and turn that phone around and press that subscribe button. That'd be very great. So, anyways, for today's episode, I am going to be talking about my 5 favorite lures to use during the pre-spawn. So, the pre-spawn is basically when the bass start moving up and they start feeding very heavily. But during the pre-spawn, most anglers go fishing because this is the time to where you can catch your potential PB. They can get very, very fat and very, very big. So when they start moving up and the pre-spawn's coming around in late winter, for most of us in the Midwest region, I would like to start out with a Ned rig. A Ned rig would be the first lure I would use to start. This is the Rattling Ned by Googan Baits. It has a little rattle in it. So, anyways, when I fish it, I would go and cast it out by the grass because I know grass is one of the first spots that they like to go to. And I would go and toss it out there, let it sit down, and bounce it twice. And when it sits, I bounce it another 2 times. And you just keep going with that pattern, and you barely let it sit. You probably let it sit for 2 seconds. And if they start biting off this Ned rig like that, that means that they are in their pre-spawn. And so after that, I would go into a rattle trap. Red to be a specific color. So bass love eating crawdads during this time. So when they come out from the depths, they would eat all the crawdads that start coming out. And I don't know why. It's probably the color, but red is the best color for pre-spawn. So the reason why I picked the red rattle trap is because you would want to use this throughout rocks. Like you want to use the Ned rig through the grass, you want to use this on the rocks. So the bass will go around the rocks and they're looking for crawfish. And when it comes down, it shakes and it has a little rattle in it. So it makes the noise. And because the bass are moving and wanting to eat, this thing will shake down there by the rocks where they are trying to pick up on crawfish. And if they see this thing coming right by their face, they're going to launch right at it. And so how I would fish this during this time is nice and slow. I won't go too fast with it. And if it goes nice and slow down by the rocks, the bass will just go in. So if I know that they're going to hit off the rattle trap, I would switch up to a jig if I'm throwing the rocks or brush piles. So the reason why I pick a jig is because this imitates the crawl. And remember, during the pre-spawn, crawfish is the #1 fish that bass love to eat during the time. So anyways, it doesn't really matter what kind of color you pick, but throwing this around the cover and the rocks to where the bass are is very amazing. All you do is let it sit down and you can drag it or you can give it one bounce. I wouldn't go 1, 2, 3 with it. I would go 2 at most, in my opinion, but it might be different for you guys. But change your color and your size by the fish in your lake. So if they start hitting the jig and they're starting to do blow-ups on water on bluegill that start moving up through the later part of the pre-spawn, it's like the mid to later part, about 2 to 3 weeks remaining in the pre-spawn, I will go straight into a chatterbait. The reason why I pick a chatterbait is because it chatters in the water. If you've never seen this, it basically kicks. If you have a trailer on there, it kicks and this just vibrates in the water. That's basically all it does. But I don't know why, but bass just love this thing. I like using a green or a white color. This was the only one I had on me right now because I lost my other ones. But it really doesn't matter about the color. The only one that really does matter about color during pre-spawn, in my opinion, is your rattle trap to be red. So with the chatterbait, it really doesn't matter what kind of trailer you have on there, as long as you have a trailer that can kick. I can take off both of these right here and just have these two flapping around. It'll do just as well. Or I can take these two off and have these two flapping around. As long as you have something moving in the water during this time, perfect. So once your bait fish start moving up really shallow and start coming out of the water flashing, the number one bait that can catch some of your biggest bass is within the last 2 weeks of pre-spawn. And this lure, the spinnerbait, is going to be your biggest bite. So all you do is take a swim bait and as your trailer. That's all I would use. To match the color of your spinnerbait, use around the same color as your swim bait. So with this, I would throw it near the banks and grass, rocks, all that, and just fish it around 3 feet below the surface at most, and just slowly reel in the thing. Most of these lures you want to go slow because they don't want to have too much energy to use going after lures. So if you're using like a crankbait and you're just bringing this thing in really quick, you have a lower chance into catching a fish. But if you take the chatterbait and you slowly cruise it through the water, the bass will have a higher chance in biting it. And that goes throughout all these lures. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of these kind of videos, I can do one over the spawn and over the post spawn. Comment below if you guys want to see that. But anyways, drop a like button, subscribe, press the notifications bell so you won't miss another video. But anyways, you guys have an amazing day. Peace.